So, Thursday evening, so our next day 2-4 is on Tuesday, April 7th. And so I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about e-learning. So what I did first in the classroom is I posted some questions. Maybe you can answer them before noon on Monday to make sure that it goes along the way that you would want. Like, for example, uh, would you prefer to have individualized classes, or would you prefer to just have one class? The reason that I mention this is because when you're doing e-learning, if you just watch the screencasts and never interact with the teacher, studies show in the United States that you will do worse than students that ask questions, ask for clarification. Massachusetts requires students taking an e-learning class to regularly check in with the teacher, and they have the highest, rate of success. So I just wanted to make you aware of that it is important to try and interact with the teacher as much as possible. I was thinking, maybe these could be like 40-minute classes or so on, figure it out as we'll go. But if you want to do individualized ones for each period one, period two, vote for that. If you just want to do one, and I think I'll record it. If you just don't want to do it at all, and you just want to watch the video, that's up to you. Also, which app do you prefer? I'm a little skeptical about Zoom, mostly because they're being sued for violating their user privacy, and Google sort of already has all of our information as a result of the TDSB creating accounts for everyone. So I was thinking of Google Hangouts, but if everyone wants Zoom, I'm happy to host it on that. So if you prefer a certain way to interact, now's the time to express it. And then also, if there's anything else, like you have a question, you're not sure about what your responsibilities are, you're supposed to be doing about 1.5 hours of work per week on your class. So, but if you have sort of other questions, please, you want me to cover something, please go ahead and do that. I just wanted to sort of show you a couple of things about e-learning. One of the trends is students that tend to be high achieving in all of their classes in the regular setting achieve the best in e-learning. And there's the opposite effect, that sometimes students that struggle in their classes also struggle in e-learning. It's not like everyone suddenly gets a boost in their grades. And the reason to that is that you're still developing your work skills. So if you're on your phone, in class, and you sometimes miss information, that might also happen in e-learning. It becomes your job to sort of create a good routine, to put the phone out of sight, to have a good workspace. Some suggestions that I've been giving my other classes are, when you're over the weekend, sort of set up a good workspace that's clear, that has some natural light. Remove distractions. Put the cell phone in like a desk drawer or another room so that it's out of sight. Here's an example of a neat room, and there's a room to take notes. There's some water. There's natural lights. Try to clean up your workspace a little over the weekend. Secondly, create a routine. Don't just get up when you feel like it. That really isn't a good habit for success, because you keep pushing everything back and then you're doing it later and later in the day. Try to, whatever your schedule is, if you want to, start at a certain time or do a certain amount of work, plan it out and stick to it, and put in breaks for exercise. Even if we go outside for a little bit, or even if you just look at like a plastic plant or look out the window, your mind will be a bit more relaxed. So try to make a bit of a schedule. If you're someone who gets a bit distracted, there's an app called Serene that sort of sets time limits, like, hey, get this done in 30 minutes, blocks websites. It's a Mac sort of iPhone app. It might be something that you want to consider. And lastly, what I thought I would show you is just a little chart. How do adults get distracted when they're working from home? Because it's not the it's not totally perfect for them either. And so what's the problem when they have to work at home is sort of separating their work from their personal life. Loneliness. Remember to connect with each other. That's what I'm hoping. Maybe if we have sort of face-to-face time, people might see each other, and you can like collaborating. Use Google Docs. Use have each other proofread each other's work. I mean, we'll do some things where you have to practice in a group to work on that. Distractions at home. Don't be in the same room as the TV. Try to keep the phone away. Just understand that everyone gets distracted when you're working at home. It's not like it's the world's best work environment, but the first step with dealing with it is just being aware. Anyways, now on to today's content about promotions. So I thought I would talk about promotions that I've seen during the COVID-19 crisis. If you are on a walk to get your fresh air and you go down Yonge Street or down Eglinton, you'll see that a lot of businesses are closed or operating differently. I don't mean to make this something trite, but there were some numbers released today on Thursday about the restaurant sector that 800,000 restaurant employees have been laid off in March. That is told that there's no work for them, and also 10% of the 98,000 restaurants in Canada are expected to close, and that's one sector. So that's a bit of a sort of a demonstration of how something like this can have severe business impacts. And you might be wondering, well, why would a business close? It's just been a month. Sometimes these businesses are very sensitive to cash flow. There's the very thin profit margins. That is, each month that a restaurant is open, after they pay for their food, their rent, their utilities, their employees, they really don't have a lot of money. It's a very, very competitive business. So it's not like they have huge cash reserves like a multinational company would. So even 1 or 2 weeks of closure could put the rent in jeopardy, and then there could be other obligations. And if the customers don't come back and they're worried about is it safe to eat out or not, the restaurant just might not be able to get enough cash to stay open. So there's all these restaurants out there that need promotions to stay in business. Having just graded everyone's culminating activity, I would say that an area of improvement would be designing an effective promotion. You had many of the same 2 or 3 ideas among all the groups. Oh, we'll have a sale, we'll have a website. And I think there's room to be a lot more creative. And the idea of a promotion is something that gets traffic in the store or traffic to the website or gets people to order. It's not necessarily an advertisement. And I think you can look at all the different ways that people interact with the product. And I'll show you this because these are things I've seen in the news and in the neighborhood. And then I would encourage you, when you're doing this, to be creative. So I think a lot of businesses have been just communicating their social distancing policies, saying that only open for takeout or only open for delivery. I saw an ad for Little Caesars talking about how they have the new pizza portal, so your pizza won't actually be handled by someone's bare hands. So just communication, sending out an email blast, a tweet, posting signs can be a type of promotion. Some are waiving fees. Uber Eats is waiving fees to get more restaurants to use its drivers. There's a few restaurants on Yonge Street offering 15% off for takeout and delivery orders. So as an enticement, you won't have to pay the gratuity. I guess since they don't have as many wait staff, their costs are less, so they're trying to pass on those costs. So a sale can always be a promotion, but please don't feel like it's the only one. Using other channels. So distribution channels would be the technical term. If you walk into a Sport Check store, that would be one channel, retail. But you can send people to another channel, like their website. And to do that, they're offering free shipping. You may have noticed other stores just offering free shipping to get you to go to the website, that the stores are closed, but they're still trying to move inventory, and they're still sending out emails. They're still sending out messages on social media. They're still sending out coupon codes, but they're definitely trying to move you to that online channel and waiving shipping as an enticement. A tailor in Toronto is offering an extra 25% on gift cards. So in order to keep money still coming in so they can do their obligations of purchasing fabrics and paying their rent, they're willing to give you 25% later on. It's a sort of bespoke, meaning that it's made to measure to each customer, so it can't actually be open. But they want to take that money now, and again, to entice you to sort of make that commitment, they're willing to give you 25% off. So you might see some sales on gift cards to get people to shop when the crisis is over. You might see companies that are posting free online content, especially trainers. They normally do personal workouts, and they're offering, to schedule time, come and watch them on Instagram, go to their website and get free exercises. And so the idea is that they start having these little micro interactions, and that's a trend in social media marketing. It's not just one big purchase that makes someone a loyal customer. It's many micro interactions. So maybe you just go to Fitz 3 or 4 times during the 6-week closure, but then it still creates a positive association, and you decide to contact them when you need a trainer. Good Life, which is closed, is making exercises available online as a way to substitute for the gym being closed and to keep the engagement of the customers going. Getting involved in helping the employees or getting involved in a charitable cause. So on one of my walks, I saw that Miami Fades had a big sign saying, look, this is the safety precautions that we're taking. Everything will be sterilized in between use, only so-and-so at a time. You have to book ahead, all these safety protocols. Then it turned out a couple of days later, they just couldn't stay open and they had to close. So now if you go to their website, you can donate to a crowdfunding campaign to help the employees who've been laid off. And you might see a business being involved with a charitable donation to stay in the news that way. Making the product available in another format, changing the marketing mix. So normally the marketing mix of the NBA would be getting the place by going to Scotiabank Arena, watching it on TV, but now you can watch online the players doing an NBA 2K tournament. Again, it's not going to make big money, but it continues the engagement. Just trying to be in the news in a positive way. I saw today that Tim Hortons, they were scrolling through the bottom of the CBC News because they'd made an announcement that truckers could use the washrooms and that the washrooms would be frequently sanitized, a way to get a positive news story out for the company that hopefully stands out. And you may have heard of Bauer making face masks, face shields, and for healthcare suppliers. I'll attach a video because there actually are some constraints to it. Like, it's hard to just switch from making hockey equipment to face masks. There was about a week of downtime and what they would call retooling to make the factories able to produce this. But you can, I'll put that in the Google Classroom, and you can watch the Ed Canali explain it himself a bit better. So the question would be, what's the best promotion that you've seen that is the most effective one to keep customers loyal and to keep the engagement going? Because businesses, it's very hard for a small business with their high costs and their limited employees. So if you could either answer this, something you've seen, I really thought this was a good way for the small business to stay relevant, or you could, hypothetically answer it, what would you do if you were a small business owner to keep the relationship with the customers going, even though you had to close?